all you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Hasbro Marvel Legends 6-inch X-Men 3-pack featuring figures of Quicksilver, Magneto, and Scarlet Witch. Now this set is part of Hasbro's new Marvel Comics 80th anniversary subline. I believe it's the first figures to be released in this new subline, and here in the United States the set is being sold as an Amazon exclusive. It started to ship, it's shipping a little bit early. The original release date I believe was July 1st for this set. Now the figures come packaged in a similar style that we've seen with previous Marvel Legend 3 packs. You've got the window box style with the figures clearly displayed. Up at the top you've got the Marvel Legend series logo. Down below you've got the X-Men logo, the names of the characters, and the Marvel 80 Years logo. On the sides of the packaging you've got some pretty cool looking artwork featuring the 3 characters. And then on the back of the packaging you've got additional comic book artwork. It's a mixture of both modern and classic artwork. And then off to the side you've got the brief bio in multiple languages. Alright, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figures outside the packaging along with their other contents. Now for accessories, starting with Quicksilver, he comes with just a pair of extra hands. You get the closed-fisted hands and then you get the pair of open running hands. For Magneto, you also get an extra pair of hands. So you've got the open hands that look like, he's about to use his powers or something, and then you get a pair of closed-fisted hands. He also comes with energy effects. We've seen these with many different figures in the past. These are done with semi-translucent purple, and you've got all the little bubbles and everything. And then finally you get 2 different head sculpts with this figure. Now both head sculpts do feature the helmet. We don't get an unhelmeted head with this figure, but you get the normal looking one where the eyes are more normal, and then you get the one where he's like using his powers and his eyes are whited out. So here's a close-up of the regular looking head sculpt on the figure. And then here's a look at the second head sculpt up close on the figure, and you can see again he's got the whited out eyes and he's gritting his teeth. He looks like he's angry. This is probably my preferred head sculpt of the 2, and I think especially if you're going to pose this figure with your Jim Lee style X-Men, I think this is the one you want to go with. Now even though we don't get an unhelmeted head sculpt with this particular figure, if you have the one that Hasbro gave us previously with the black and red Magneto figure, it does fit well on this new figure. And if for some reason you like the head sculpt that came with the older Toys R Us exclusive version, it does actually fit on this new figure. And then finally with Scarlet Witch, the only accessories she comes with are these magic wielding effect pieces. We've seen these before. They're made with that rubber material, and these are done with kind of a neon pink color, and they just wrap around the figure's wrists. And you only get 1 set of hands with this particular figure, the magic wielding hands. No alternate hands with this one. Okay, now for the figures themselves, starting with Quicksilver, and this is probably the one people are most anticipating from this set. It's been a while since we've gotten a Quicksilver figure, and the first one Hasbro did when they first took over the line definitely was kind of ugly. So I think this new figure is much improved. You've got darker colors, and a much nicer looking head sculpt, but overall, definitely looks much better than this original one. Now this particular mold we have seen before. We've seen it with figures like the Sunfire figure, the classic Sunfire, and then we've also seen it with some of the Spider-Man figures like the Scarlet Spider here. So pretty much this body is the same as this one. Hands are different, but everything else is pretty much the same between the 2, other than the head sculpts, of course. Now for the head sculpt on this one, at first I thought maybe this was a modified Submariner head sculpt, but it doesn't appear to be. I believe this is a brand new head sculpt, and he's got the gray hair. You've got the wash effect, so it's not pure white. He's got rather big eyebrows, and they're again done kind of with a grayish white color. Good skin tone. The eyes look pretty good on this one. He's got the hair that's kind of flowing backwards for running. Now they didn't give him like the little pieces that stick out like they did on the classic version that you would sometimes see in the comics and such, but I actually think this looks pretty good. And again, this to me is kind of a more modern looking Quicksilver. Even though they bill this set as a Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, this really isn't how he appeared back in the original days. Same with the other 2 characters really. These are really, to to me kind of more modern looking, or at least 90s versions of the characters. Now for the rest of the figure, you've just got the blue outfit, and it is a darker blue than what we saw with that original Hasbro figure. And then you've got the lightning bolt that's painted on there, and it goes down his chest and around his waist and everything. And all that looks pretty good. He's got the black shorts, and then again he's got the blue, and he's got the white on the gloves and the boots, that kind of pearl white, which looks pretty good on the figure as well. Now you do get a little separation between the forehead and the hair on this one. We've seen that with previous Marvel Legend figures, not a big deal, but just wanted to point that out. Now the other face I kind of see when I look at this head sculpt is Peter Parker. I checked the previous Peter Parker unmasked head sculpts that we've gotten from Hasbro, and I don't think this is the same one. It seems to be different. You've got things like the lines there between the eyebrows and such. So again, I do think this is a new head sculpt. Now with the Magneto figure, the body is just a reuse of the black and red Magneto that we recently got, and then they took the cape from the older Toys R Us exclusive version and they modified it a little bit, and I'll show you that in a second. Not just the paint is different. You've got some black wash up here on the shoulder pieces, and you've got a more metallic purple here on the metal parts around the neck than on the Toys R Us one. But they also modified it a little bit where it actually, the little peg that sticks in the back, and I'll show you that in just a second. But otherwise, you know, like I said, other than the head sculpts, you know, we've seen this figure before. It's just repainted, but that's what people wanted. They wanted this black and red version with his classic costume, and so that's what Hasbro gave us. And if you like those purple translucent hands that they gave us with the black and red Magneto figure, they do work on this one. Now the hands from that Toys R Us exclusive version are completely different. They don't just plug in at the wrist, they actually plug in at the glove cuff, so they're not compatible with this new figure. And then on the cape, again, I just wanted to show you how they modified the new cape here. They added this little tab underneath the one that plugs into the actual back. I'm not entirely sure why they did that. Doesn't really seem like it's needed. That wasn't included on the original cape. Neither figure have like double holes on the back, so again, I don't know why they added that. But there you go. And one other thing I just wanted to point out real quick, nothing major here, but the belts on both of this new figure and the Toys R Us exclusive, they're both separate pieces. They're both done with that kind of metallic purple color, but they are a little bit different. The one on the new figure seems to be a little bit thinner than the one on the older Toys R Us exclusive. Okay, and then finally with Scarlet Witch, this new figure actually uses a lot of different parts from the previous comic book Scarlet Witch. There are some similarities. The torso sections are the same. They did repaint the skin tone, so you have that kind of material that she wore underneath her main outfit. To replicate that, they just painted the skin tone this somewhat metallic pink color, and then she has the same hands, different gloves, but same hands, same magic wielding hands as the previous figure. Same cape. This new cape is a little bit darker, but it is the same cape between the two figures. But the arms, the legs, and the head sculpt are all different. I really like this new head sculpt over the previous one. You've got the larger tips on the headpiece that she wears. I also just like the way they've done the hair on this new one. I also like the way the eyes look. It's a little more evil looking, but I really like this new head sculpt over the previous one. And then I like the fact that with like the legs and the feet, they ditched the high heels. I think the heels are more comic book accurate, but this allows the figure to stand a lot better. The joints don't seem to be quite as gummy, at least on my original figure. This figure can barely stand under its own weight because of the gummy knee joints, so that seems to be a little bit improved. And then she doesn't have, she has different gloves, so again, different arms. You can see you no longer see that ugly hinge joint on the side there, and then again with the different sculpted gloves on there. And I just wanted to give you an up-close look at this new head sculpt. Again, I really do like this head sculpt. I think it looks good. I like the way the hair looks, and you've got some nice wash effect in the hair. I like the way this new headpiece looks with the larger tips, and then I even like how the eyes look on it. The one on the head sculpt on the previous one wasn't bad looking. In fact, it was really a pretty good looking head sculpt, but still, for whatever reason, I just like this new one better. Okay, now as far as height goes, all three figures are pretty close to the same height. Magneto with his helmet is the tallest of the three though. He comes in just over 6.5 inches tall. Then Quicksilver I think is the next tallest, and he comes in just under 6.5 inches tall. And then Scarlet Witch also comes in really just under 6.5 inches tall, but I think she's a hair shorter than Quicksilver. And just for some comparisons, here's a look at the new Quicksilver with Hasbro's original Quicksilver figure, and the new one is taller. Here's another comparison of the 3 recent Magneto figures Hasbro's released. So the black and red version with this new one are pretty much the same height, and then the older Toys R Us one is just a little bit shorter. Now for Scarlet Witch, the older one is a little bit taller than this new figure. She doesn't have the heels, though honestly it's kind of hard to tell since I really can't get my old Scarlet Witch to stand up straight because of those knee joints. Okay, now for articulation. Since all these figures incorporate bodies that we've seen before, there's nothing terribly new here, but let's go over it real quick with Quicksilver. So with him, he can turn his head to the left and to the right. He can look down pretty good, and then he can look up really good as well. With the arms, he can get his arm out good there. He's got the butterfly joint, so you've got the back and forth movement, which is nice, and you've got good rotation there at the shoulder. You get a bicep swivel, you get the double hinged elbow, so good bending there. You get rotation with the hands, so and hinges, so you've got the up and down movement. Then you've got an ab crunch joint, so he can crunch forward good, and he can look back good. He gets a waist swivel with the legs. He can only do the splits about that much, but he can get his leg forward pretty good, and then he can do his leg out and back. You get the thigh swivel, you get a double jointed knee, so good bending there at the knee. You get a boot cuff swivel, and then you get hinges, so up and down movement, and of course you do get ankle pivot, and then Quicksilver has 2 peg holes on the bottom of his feet. Magneto, it's going to be pretty much the same with that black and red version, but we'll go over it again real quick. You can turn his head to the left and to the right. He can look down about that much. The cape limits some of the down movement. You can probably get it down more if you don't have the cape on, and then he can look back about that much. Again, the helmet limits some of that movement. You've got the arms with the hinge joint, so you can get the arm out good there, and he can rotate with the cape. It limits some of that movement, but you can still rotate the arm all the way around. You've got a bicep swivel, you've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there. You've got rotation with the hands, you've got hinges on the hands, so up and down movement. You get an ab crunch on Magneto, so he can crunch forward good, and then he can look back pretty good there. You get a waist swivel with Magneto. With Magneto, he can do the splits about that much. He can get his leg forward good, and then he can do his leg out and back. You've got the thigh swivel. You've got the double jointed knees, so good bending there. You get a boot cuff swivel. You get hinges on the feet, so up and down movement. And of course, you do get ankle pivot and 2 peg holes. And then finally with Scarlet Witch, now with her hair and the cape, that limits some of the head movement, but you can still turn the head pretty good. The hair catches the cape, so the cape's going to tend to move with the head. And then she really can't look down very much, and she can't look back at all because of the long hair. The hair is made with a pretty hard rubber type material. And then with her arm, she can get her arm out good, and she's got good rotation, though the hair again does kind of get in the way a little bit. So just be wary of that, and you can get the arm out pretty good. You do not get a bicep swivel. You only get the single hinged elbow because it is a female Marvel Legend. You get the rotation at the glove cuff. Actually, I take that back. You get the rotation at the elbow, and then you get rotations with the hands, and you have hinges on the hands, so up and down movement. She has a midsection joint, so she can rotate there at the midsection, and she can pivot to the left and the right. That's the same as with the older Scarlet Witch figure. She can only do the splits that much, and she can get her leg up high really good, and she can do her leg back. She's got a thigh swivel. She's got double jointed knees, so good bending there at the knees. She does not have a boot cuff swivel. She has hinges on the feet, so up and down movement, and she does have ankle pivot, and like with the other two, she has 2 peg holes on the bottom of her feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I like this set. I think all 3 figures are an improvement over the previous versions that we've gotten from Hasbro. The Magneto figure is pretty much the same as the black and red costume, but of course this is his classic costume, and I think this is the version everybody wanted. The Quicksilver figure is definitely much improved over that older one that Hasbro did, and I even like the Scarlet Witch figure better than the original one. I like the new head sculpt, and I like the fact that she doesn't have the heels and everything. So overall, you know, if you're a fan of these characters, I think this is a set you're definitely going to want to get. Now this is an Amazon exclusive, and last time I checked, it is still in stock on the Amazon website, and it is shipping now, so you can go on and pick it up if you want to, and if you have Prime, you can get the free shipping, which is nice. We'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And you can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I have links to those in the video description as well. Until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.